Good evening. Dan Rather with the CBS Evening News. The Census Bureau is out tonight with another very interesting report. The latest changes for men, women, and wages in the workplace. Women now earn 70 cents for every dollar a man makes. The wage gap is closing, the Census Bureau tells us, as job prospects for women grow wider and higher. Chief CBS News Washington correspondent Bob Schieffer charts the latest trends in our changing America.
Meet Jennifer Girardi, engineer. There was a time when you didn't run into many women at construction sites, but the new Census Bureau study out tonight says that Jennifer Girardi is just one example of what's happening in many jobs once considered man's work. Women have not only moved in, they have moved in force.
Not only are women feeling more comfortable about doing more work that was originally associated with men, but men are accepting them more.
The report says in just 7 years, the number of women accountants has risen from 34% of the profession to 45%. The number of women administrators and public officials has risen from 30 to 43%. The number of women lawyers has increased from 10 to 15%. Women still don't earn as much as men, but that's changing too. At the beginning of the decade, women's paychecks averaged about 62% of what men earned. They now average about 70%.
Women have tended to cluster in certain kinds of occupations, and now we're seeing that they're moving into these higher paying occupations. And I think that's strongly linked with the increase in earnings that we're seeing.
The reason for all this, experts say, is that women now seek the same kind of education and training that once attracted mostly men. The business school here at George Washington University provides a dramatic example. 20 years ago, only 10% of the students here were women. Today, 47%, nearly half the students doing graduate work in business, are women.
I think that women are seeing themselves as stronger, less weak, and are capitalizing on those strengths.
And they are becoming aware, increasingly aware of the opportunities that are available to them.
Men still far outnumber women in the boardrooms, but the dean of the George Washington University Business School says that too will change as women gain more experience.
I think that by the year 2010, we'll see many more women in managerial jobs, professional jobs, at the top of the ladder.
The Census Bureau projects that the wage gap will continue to shrink too as more women enter the higher paying professional ranks. But already the 80s are shaping up as the best decade yet for working women. Bob Schieffer, CBS News, Washington.
A study out tonight from the Veterans Administration is bound to revive a long-running controversy. Whether some Vietnam veterans had their health damaged by exposure to Agent Orange. That's the defoliant the U.S. used in the jungles. This new study concludes that Marine Corps Vietnam vets have died of lung and lymph cancers at much higher rates than colleagues who did not serve there. 58% higher than expected for lung cancer, 110% higher for lymph cancers. The study is the largest ever by the VA on deaths among Vietnam veterans, and about the high cancer rates, the study says exposure to Agent Orange may be suspected. The Pentagon said late today a new convoy of U.S. warships and Kuwaiti tankers is moving, quote, uneventfully down the Persian Gulf. Iran chose other targets for a new series of attacks on Gulf shipping. Alan Pizzi has our Persian Gulf tanker war report.
The helicopter carrier Guadalcanal and another U.S. warship were sitting just south of the Iranian islands of Syria and Abu Musa tonight, waiting for the latest convoy of 3 reflagged Kuwaiti tankers. The islands are bases for Iranian Revolutionary Guards. The Americans were on guard.
Approaching U.S. Navy warship. Your intentions are unclear. You're housing my vessel and may be subject to appropriate defensive measures.
The Guadalcanal has been sweeping the waters ahead of convoys for mines, but the latest threats to shipping have come from Iranian Revolutionary Guards in speedboats, who have hit 6 ships in the last 2 days. 2 crewmen were injured on an Italian ship attacked last night in the central Gulf near Bahrain. The crew said the Iranians fired, quote, just for the fun of killing people. This tanker was hit by what shipping sources are now saying was an Iranian Navy ship. Aside from a shell found on board, the crew also found a 12-foot-long unexploded missile. In response to attacks on its ships, Japan today announced it will stop sending vessels into the Gulf for 2 days. Japan is the largest consumer of Iranian crude oil. And a seamen's union today blamed the U.S. presence in the Gulf for the latest upsurge in attacks.
It is escalating the situation at the present time. We now have the largest war zone that we've ever had. It's spilled out of the Gulf now into the Gulf of Oman, where we find the mines.
The only known deaths in the latest flare-up have been 2 crewmen on a supply ship hit by Iraqi warplanes. It was the Iraqis who restarted the tanker war 5 days ago. They hit Iranian shipping, and Iran hits back at everyone. Alan Pizzi, CBS News in the Gulf.
The prosecution took the stand today, the second day of the Moscow trial of Matthias Rust. Witnesses said they were frightened when Rust's light plane swooped low and landed near Red Square. A Soviet prosecutor called the West German teenager a hooligan and asked that he be sentenced to 8 years in a Soviet labor camp. Rust has admitted violating international flight rules, but he says he did it as a gesture for world peace. A verdict is expected tomorrow. In a court in this country today, officials pondered the violent courtroom outbreak that led to a county-wide curfew. But, and this is the point, it was only the latest example of disturbers of the peace who take the courts and the law into their own hands. Bruce Hall investigated the growing national incidents of disorder in the court.
State troopers patrolled Decatur, Tennessee this evening after courtroom spectators went on a rampage last night following the acquittal of a murder suspect. The crowd tried to attack the jurors and judge.
When the verdict was announced, chaos just broke out and this mob ruled for a while. It took us probably an hour to get it quailed down. The courthouse has been pretty well wrecked. They broke the front window out of the courthouse. Phone lines has been cut. Tried to get into the jury. We protected everybody so far.
Courtroom violence. It is a problem that is occurring across the country with increasing frequency.
We've got to preserve the justice system intact, and we've got to make the participants recognize that they need some degree of safety.
In this Cobb County, Georgia court last month, emotions boiled over after a verdict was announced. Officials say the courtrooms are becoming powder kegs as some hearings become marked with extreme anger and frustration. Much of the violence is taking place in family courts. In Port St. Joe, Florida in July, during a divorce hearing, Clyde Melvin pulled a pistol and killed the judge, his wife's attorney, and a third person.
In the civil courts and the domestic relations courts, in many communities, there simply is no officer on duty in those courts during the time. Very few of the courts have weapons detection systems.
Those who have been using metal detectors have eliminated guns and most knives in the courtrooms. But so far, authorities have not been able to guarantee safety from the increasing acts of physical and verbal abuse. Bruce Hall, CBS News, Atlanta.
Some of the passengers on the 2 jets knew at the time that it was a near collision over the Atlantic, but even the Continental Airlines passenger who snapped this picture of the passing Delta flight July 8th didn't know how near. Today, government investigators said the 2 jets came within 30 feet of each other. The Delta flight was 60 miles off course. The Delta crew followed only one of 6 FAA recommended ocean navigation procedures and didn't even have an ocean chart. Main recommendation today, FAA procedures issued years ago for checking course over the ocean should now be mandatory. Quote, thrilled to see the sunrise. Those words today from a man who started a flight as a pilot and ended as a passenger on the outside, hanging on and looking in thousands of feet above Earth. Forrest Sawyer reports the pilot's harrowing tale.
It was a routine flight for the Eastern Express commuter plane with no passengers. Routine until the pilot went back to check on a loose door.
Yes, sir. If you declare emergency at this time, the captain was just sucked up to the back door, to the cabin door.
But Captain Henry Dempsey had not fallen into the sea as his co-pilot had feared. Somehow he had managed to grab onto the railing of the stair that had swung open. And for 10 awful minutes he lay there face down, hanging on for his life, while his co-pilot tried to land the unstable plane.
Controllers at the Portland airport calmly talked the co-pilot in. Not until the plane had landed did they realize Dempsey was still alive.
The stairs were down. There was a person laying on the stairs.
Airport rescue worker Mark Thompson was one of the first people to reach Dempsey.
His eyes looked the size of silver dollars. He just of a man who'd been through hell is what it looked like.
Today, Eastern Express pilots carefully examined other Beechcraft 99s, planes like the one Dempsey was flying. The airline says it can find nothing mechanically wrong with his plane. And they say Dempsey could scarcely believe he escaped with only cuts and bruises.
He described it as a very harrowing experience He was very grateful that the first officer was able to complete the flight and land in the way that he did.
Airline officials say Captain Dempsey and his co-pilot have nothing more to say than that. The two men are exhausted, and they just want to rest after the most frightening night of their lives. Forrest Sawyer, CBS News, Portland, Maine.
Straight ahead tonight on the CBS Evening News, a promising new technique for detecting the AIDS virus early, a war desperately short of soldiers, a war against fire. Terry Drinkwater is on the front lines, and Bob McNamara reports on some people who are having a steamy love affair with nature.
If you get painful headaches, you should know that recently, people like you nationwide took part in the largest headache test ever. Extra-strength Tylenol against ibuprofen. Conclusion? Extra-strength Tylenol is unbeatable for headache relief. Nothing is more effective. And something else. Tylenol doesn't irritate your stomach the way ibuprofen can. If nothing is more effective for headaches, and Tylenol is gentler to your stomach, shouldn't your choice be Tylenol?
Okay, honey.
Can you tell who hasn't had their Kellogg's bran flakes?
Hang in there, honey.
Well, some people feel a little sluggish if they're not eating a balanced diet.
Oh boy, am I sluggish.
Kellogg's are the only bran flakes with fiber and a full day supply of iron to help balance your diet. And that's one great way to help fight that sluggish feeling. So maybe you can tell who hasn't had their Kellogg's bran flakes
Great shot, honey.
and who has. Kellogg's bran flakes, the fiber and iron cereal.
This is the place you come to for quality and more, and prices that are known across the land. Ace is the place.
For the Code 1 smoke detector, Best Buy priced at $4.95.
Ace is the place.
Plus Sunbeam Steam and Dry Iron for $7.99 after rebate. And multi-use plastic sheeting 10 by 25 foot rolls for $2.44.
Ace is the place with the help of hardware men.
Thousands fled their homes today as wildfires raced toward rural communities in 4 western states. Some 270,000 acres of brush and timber already have gone up in smoke. Officials said they are contending with too many fires and too few firefighters. Terry Drinkwater reports from Northern California, where the flames are at their fiercest.
Before dawn on this day 5 of the plague of wildfires that has burned up and down the High Sierra, winds swept 2 of the biggest blazes over thousands more acres. Another 4 houses were lost near the town of Tuolumne. The luck of the Mother Lode country ran out here. But remarkably, most houses have been spared, though some residents have been forced to evacuate time and again.
We got all of the things that really mean a lot to us, so that's always most important. Hopefully it won't get this far.
This is ranch country, but there are also many retirees who are heading out of the hills just in case.
Obviously, they got word.
To the north, near the town of Milford, each tree seemed to create a firestorm of its own, flames leaping from the top of one to the next.
They said we can stay here as long as possible. When our lives are in danger, they want us out of here or they will carry us out.
Some firefighters cannot go on much longer. 16,000 are now on the lines. Never before in any California fire season has so much manpower been so urgently needed all at once. Around the clock, reinforcements are being flown in from across the country, and tankers are standing by in Southern California, ready to fly north when the smoke clears. But here it is dense and has severely limited the airdrops most days. And all the while, there are scores of fires, most smaller than 500 acres, which aren't being fought at all. Says the chief in charge, we need something heaven sent, like rain. None is forecast. Terry Drinkwater, CBS News in the Sierra.
A major public health concern these days is contamination of donor blood supplies with the deadly AIDS virus. Well, researchers today announced a new approach to blood testing that may end that concern and advance the battle against AIDS on other fronts. CBS News medical correspondent Susan Spencer explains.
With screening procedures in place, the nation's blood supply is said to be safe from contamination with AIDS. 99.9% safe.
Which means we have a small risk that someone who's infective, particularly in the early phase, will pass through.
That's because the current tests work only after the body's immune system begins reacting to the virus, after it produces antibodies. But there can be a window of up to 6 months before that happens. Researchers today described a promising new technique to detect AIDS long before that, a technique that could be the key to finally closing that window.
This test does not depend upon the human responding to the viral infection. Rather, this test directly detects the virus.
This is the direction other AIDS researchers are pursuing as well, identifying either the virus or parts of it, and their reasons go well beyond protecting the blood supply. Such a test also could help determine when to start therapy, how well it was working, and who might benefit. And it might pick out which patients without symptoms will go on to get AIDS.
It's very important to be able to have a test that would pick up early infection, and we have hopes that this will be the test.
If tests such as this will make blood that much safer, we're obligated to take advantage of this progress.
It's unclear how soon a commercial test might be available or how expensive it might be. But blood industry officials say the money wouldn't matter. If there were a way to make the blood supply even safer, they would use it. Susan Spencer, CBS News, Washington.
Big defense contractor TRW today agreed to pay the Pentagon a big penalty, $17 million. That's to settle a case for overcharging taxpayers through the Defense Department. Under today's settlement, TRW can continue to receive government contracts.
If you've got a taste for something exciting, which drink has the blend of flavors you're looking for?
Del Monte, pineapple mandarin.
Del Monte Fruit Blends, because a blend of fruits can mean more taste. More fruit, more taste.
Pete Manigan is a happy man. But then, no one has a job quite like Pete Manigan's. One where he can release his frustration, act out his aggressions, deal with his anger. Because Pete Manigan works for the world's largest retail testing laboratory at Sears, where he gets a chance to see how well things are really made, testing them to make sure they're worth every cent you pay for them, if not more, which gives him great satisfaction. So Pete never takes the office home with him.
Sorry, Mr. Minigan.
That's okay, Bobby.
Pete Manigan is a happy man, and what he does for Sears will make you happy too.
What happened to your foot?
Oh, nothing.
Where does it hurt?
Here.
For indigestion, heartburn, and gas, nobody does as much as Malox Plus. Dose for dose, it neutralizes more than any regular strength antacid and dissolves gas. Nobody does as much as Malox Plus.
Military men staged a coup in the East African state of Burundi today. They seized power while the president was in Quebec, attending a summit meeting of French-speaking nations. Argentina holds midterm elections this Sunday, 4 years after President Raúl Alfonsín took over from a military junta. But the transition to democracy is still not complete in Argentina. There are still open wounds and unresolved issues from the last period of military rule. Juan Vasquez went there and found questions without answers, stories without endings.
She lived in this house. One day, Argentine soldiers looking for people they said were terrorists blasted the house to pieces. The parents died, but 11 years later, Clara Mariani is still missing. Amelia Miranda's granddaughter is also missing. When soldiers raided her daughter's home 11 years ago, the newspapers reported 5 subversives killed. Inside the house were 3 children and their parents. The grandmother thought all had died, but found out years later the infant's coffin was empty. Today, she doesn't know where the child is, but she knows who to blame.
I accuse the military. Yes, it was them.
In Argentina today, there are believed to be 400 missing children, many illegally adopted by the same police and soldiers who killed their parents. There are, of course, no records. So the grandmothers have become detectives and are determined to find them.
Sí, si no, no podría vivir.
Yes, yes. If not, I couldn't go on living. She's my only grandchild and daughter of my only son.
At least 9,000 Argentines vanished during the dirty war. Many are buried in unmarked graves, graves that only now are being unearthed with the help of medical students trained by American pathologists.
They're buried in a meter below earth with 2 or 3 gunshot wounds, short-range gunshot wounds in the head, that they have been tortured, and that there has been a huge massacre done here.
The grandmothers are old and know that for them, time is running out. So they are donating blood to be left behind when they die. The blood will be frozen and available to be matched against the blood of Argentine children who can come here to learn the truth, even decades from now. It may seem hopeless, but don't tell that to the family of Oscar Gatica. He was a labor leader who fled Argentina during the dirty war. While he was gone, police kidnapped 2 of his 4 children.
Siempre pensamos que estaban vivos, nunca perdimos la...
We always believed they were alive. We never lost hope. We were certain they were alive somewhere.
The children were living with strangers they had been told were their parents. It took the Gaticas years before a court ultimately returned them. They'll never let go again. Years after the end of Argentina's dirty war, the families of the victims still search, still hope that, against all odds, the disappeared will return. If some can be found, they say, so can others. Juan Vasquez, CBS News, Mercedes, Argentina.
The grace of its flight, the thrill of its thunder, the vision, the drive, the spirit of Thunderbird.
Now get 1.9% financing or a $600 cash bonus on Ford Thunderbird.
Peachy, peachy, peachy. From out of the peach comes Riuniti Natural Peach, bursting with a taste of fresh peaches. Not just a watered-down cooler, just natural Riuniti.
Try apple and raspberry, too.
My arthritis pain makes it hard to capture the morning light. I used to take aspirin or Tylenol, but today it's Advil. Advil relieves my minor arthritis pain for hours. And like Tylenol, Advil doesn't give me occasional stomach upset. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
Nothing comes between me and my pet except the hearts, 2 in 1 color. Don't want fleas or ticks on me or my pet, so I get the hearts 2 in 1 color.
Go ahead. Hug, snuggle, tickle 'em. Nothing should come between you and your pet except the Hearts 2 in 1 color. Kills fleas and ticks for 5 months, so you can get close to your pet without getting close to fleas and ticks.
Nothing comes between me and my pet except the hearts 2 in 1 color.
Few sights in nature anywhere in the world are more spectacular than Yellowstone Park's towering geysers. And Old Faithful itself is hardly more faithful than the dedicated band of volunteers whose line of work may surprise and intrigue you. Bob McNamara reports.
Instamatic's ready?
There it goes.
It's Old Faithful. The guys are erupting about every 75 minutes, often enough so it's hard to miss.
But many of them just leave after seeing Old Faithful and don't go behind it. And you soon find out that there are cone geysers, there are fountain geysers, there are massive geysers, there are all kinds.
There are more than 400 geysers in Yellowstone National Park. And John Muller has seen almost all of them, studied them and their moods for years.
On rare occasions, it gives what we call a super burst, okay? Comes right over the parking lot and soaks everybody.
Wow! Now, how hard
You haven't lived till you've been laundered by a geyser.
But John Muller's not alone in what he knows and does. Scott Bryan's written a book on Yellowstone's geysers. There's Heinrich Koenig timing and charting geyser activity. And Marianne Moss from Indiana learning all she can, too. And together they're among a rare Yellowstone group known fondly as geyser gazers. All volunteers, they spend weeks, often months here, tracking the geyser activity for the Park Service.
It's not always pleasant. It is boring. If you're going to get meaningful data, you've got to get out there and try to get every eruption that you can get. You can't slough off about it.
A 3 a.m. can find Marianne Moss and Heinrich Koenig in the cold, listening to Grand Geyser erupt because it's too dark to see it. It's almost addictive.
They're just fascinating as phenomena. There's just enough pattern and regularity to make you think you know what they're doing, and just enough irregularity and surprises to keep you wanting to come back for more.
Yeah, she's back to 10s. She was on 12s. She's back to 10s average now.
Timing hours between eruptions, taking the guessing out of the geysers is part of the gazing.
So we want to figure them out, but more than anything else, we want to see them.
If there's any work to geyser gazing, it's in the waiting. Waiting hours, even days for something that may not even happen.
We had one geyser, as an example, just right out over here, about 100 yards. Had 3 eruptions one afternoon, and that was it. First and last that we've ever known out of it.
Whether retirees, computer programmers on leave, teachers on vacation, there's almost a religious commitment to it, the way some wed themselves to just one geyser.
We have some people who have said over and over that the geyser that they watch is their whole life.
With more geysers than anywhere in the world, there's an unmatched beauty. And there's a beast about this place. But when the fire in the belly of the earth boils over, it's living geology before a geyser gazer's eyes. Bob McNamara, CBS News, Yellowstone National Park.
And that's tonight's CBS Evening News. Dan Rather, see you tomorrow. Good night.
The day's looking new and bright.
It is.
And you're gonna start it right.
I am.
Cause there's Folgers for you that's decaffeinated too. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Decaffeinated? And I'm waking up?
Nothing brightens your morning like mountain-grown Folgers decaffeinated. Mountain-grown coffee beans have more enticing aroma and richer flavor than any other kind.
With Folgers so rich and good, the day starts like it should.
And 1, and 2, and 1, and 2.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
The day's really shaping up.
I've tried a lot of denture creams, but Fix-It-Ant's the winner down the stretch.
Fix-It-Ant and forget it. Fix-It-Ant helps fix loose spots for a strong hold that lasts longer than any leading cream. Use Fix-It-Ant and forget it.
Your doctor has a new way to help prevent a heart attack. It's a medicine you take once a day. Aspirin. Studies with people who had a heart attack or unstable angina show aspirin reduces heart attacks as much as 50%. Maybe it could help you. Ask your doctor about a regimen of aspirin, exercise, and the right foods. He knows what's right for you. This message brought to you by Bayer, the wonder drug that works wonders.
Career trauma, auto workers off the assembly line and into retraining classes. Erin Moriarty reports on the changing American workplace tomorrow on the CBS Morning News.
This is CBS.